What is up, everybody? You're listening to Living Beyond the Dream podcast, a podcast where we have practical conversations, take the dreams you have for your church and yourself, turn it into a reality. My name is Mike, joined by my man Tyler, like always. You're tuned into episode 49.
49.
Man, I can't believe we've made it 49 weeks straight.
Incredible.
But it's been awesome. It's been awesome hearing from you guys every week in and week out. We hope we've been blessing you. Hope we've been giving you some information to help expand your organization and really take your organization and yourself to the next level. Yeah. And we're kind of trying to mix up the topics periodically, kind of getting a little spice there, here and there for everybody and kind of what they need.
Yeah.
And so kind of we're going to divert a little bit, still in the church world, but a little bit into a topic we haven't really tackled at all this year.
We haven't, but we've been actually, it's been in a lot of conversations lately, that whether it's been on new podcasts that we've been listening to, or we actually just walked through it ourselves, so I think it's a perfect time to be talking about it. But we're going to talk MultiSite today.
Okay, yep.
Talking about that, we just walked through it. Bloom just went MultiSite, right? Mm-hmm. How did you, what was the process for Bloom? Walk me through. I know that's a really broad question, but what made you want to make this move?
That is extremely broad question, right? It's like, tell me about the whole Bible.
The whole Bible.
Break it down. What is the whole Bible? Break
in
it
5 minutes.
But our process really is, we did know that we've always been called to a multi-site model. That's kind of always been our goal and our dream and our ambition from day one. Because I've always just had this knack to kind of raise up leaders. It's kind of just what I've always wanted to do, and multiply and help people live their dreams. And if that's in the vocational ministry side, I want to give people as many opportunities as possible for that. On top of, I want to expand the kingdom of God and reach people. And so for us, what we did is we knew that we were wanting to go multi-site, but we also wanted to make sure timing was right. It's really easy to let something that's trendy be something you rush and then not be ready for it. Yeah. And so we wanted to kind of make sure we were stable enough to be able to handle that. And also we were strategic enough to do with that. So we waited. We didn't jump into it. We waited till we were 6 years old as a church to kind of look around and kind of see the areas and figure out what was going to be a healthy next step for us in the multi-site. Yeah. So that was phase one. Second phase is that we started looking at the area where we already had people attending church.
That's good.
People that were giving, and people that were a part of our church that lived a considerable distance away, right? And so we try to look through the demographics on the pockets of where we were getting people. And we wanted to look at anything that was at least 15 to 20 minutes from our church. Nice. And so what we did is start looking at a couple different community areas and what was the highly concentrated areas. And that's what made us choose our first location. Was we had a really strong serving core from there. Yeah. We had a lot of people traveling week in and week out there, and people giving. So we said, hey, you're kind of checking off all the boxes. This looks like a place that could be healthy and thrive. So that was kind of the second step, was just to kind of be a little strategic with it. And then what we started doing there is starting to have launch meetings and interest meetings and kind of building the core people out there. And so what we were trying to really kind of navigate was what, when, and how is really important questions to ask yourselves, and then where. Yeah. And you need to look at all of those and answer them in a very healthy way.
And I want to dive into that a little bit. We're going to get pretty practical with this, because any conversations that I've heard around multi-site is, well, I might want to do it, but I have no idea where to even start. So I really kind of want to dig into that today. And I love what you said about the people. I think doing like a heat map or something like that of your congregation to fully understand where are they coming from, and would this be a strategic place to put a campus, is so important. But once you know the area, how did you know what kind of place you needed to get? What went into that?
Well, I'm a really big advocate on making sure you're portable when you start. Yeah. And so some people aren't. Some people like that brick and mortar. And I will say that some areas, really portable doesn't work. So I will get some cities that are like that.
When you say portable, do you mean set up, tear down?
Set up and tear down. Okay. I mean, I don't want to go and get into a 3 to 5 year permanent lease into a building. I'll tell you a couple reasons why, and we'll go into that. Like I said just a second ago, some communities I do know it's really hard to go portable in because they have a strong church background already there. Mm-hmm. whether or not people are church goers, they have a church history.
Yeah.
So some people look at a portable and they don't really think it's church, whether they go to church or not, or unchurched, but they have that raising.
Yeah.
So there are some communities where it's real difficult, but the majority of communities I found, you can thrive in a portable setting.
Yeah.
We chose to go portable for a couple reasons. Number one, it gives you a lot better flexibility on the financial side of it, right? You're not locked into a rate or lease that is as expensive as a brick and mortar full on. That's your site. So you're saving money there. Secondly, it gives you the ability to now put more money into your signage and into your tech that you wouldn't have to do for a build out.
Yeah.
Because if you go into a permanent site, rarely are you going into an existing church.
Yeah.
So you have to build out classrooms, auditorium spaces. You're having to build out. So now you're sinking money into a remodel on top of signage, on top of tech, on top of all the equipment. So now you're able to divert some of that money to the right areas and do those things well. Thirdly, it gives you the ability to not paint yourself into a corner where you start getting into a facility that's too small for you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're going to get into what you can afford, but what you can afford is not going to accommodate your growth 3 to 5 years down the road.
That's so good.
So what happens is, a lot of times we paint ourselves into a corner because we get too small of a building and we don't let the growth kind of settle and allow us, when we take that step into a building, go into the appropriate size building. Yeah. So those are the reasons why I'm a proponent of going portable. Now, some of the greatest locations to look at is portable sites that are known in the communities. And what they recommend is schools or other event centers or other event areas that are known in the city. So when you could say we are meeting at XYZ, everybody in the community knows where XYZ is, right? We're meeting at the high school. We're meeting at the event center. We're meeting at where we're meeting right now currently is the Boys and Girls Club. These are areas people in the town know exactly where that's at. So there's no confusion. That's where you kind of want to look at in your ideas of where to go portable is what's known in the city.
That's so good. Marketing, I feel like, is so key, and to get this piece right is a huge has a huge impact on the churches or the campus itself. So how did you know how to market? Because the campus that you placed is in a pretty rural part of Missouri, and how did you know how to market? Okay, we're doing a satellite campus. It's video teaching, like something completely new. How did you know how to market that?
Well, here's what I do. I'm not really too intimidated by the video teaching.
Yeah.
Some people are scared to death of it, right? I know it works.
Yeah.
People get saved every week.
Yeah.
We were actually doing video teaching in our current campus before we launched our satellite campus because we were running 5 services and it was just physically impossible for me to preach 5 services.
Yeah.
Just voice couldn't hold out that long.
Yeah.
So we already started doing video teaching at our broadcast site. So we knew people were getting saved and people were responding to the messages there.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too worried about that. What I wanted to do is make sure that I'm getting the name out.
Yeah.
Now, what we had going for us that a church plant doesn't is we already have a following.
Yeah.
We already have a name. Mm-hmm. We already have a group of followers. We already have a dream team that was driving out from that distance. So we already had a little bit of leverage. So we didn't have to spend as much on advertising just to get a brand new name out nobody knows about
right.
out. We're able to be a little bit more strategic with it, using online and social media, using the word of mouth, talking about it from the stage at our broadcast campus before we launched this multi-site. So that way we were able to leverage all those tools and market towards the area we're looking at.
Yeah.
So to me, rural sites work just as great with video teaching, maybe even better than a large metro area, because rural sites sometimes don't have some of the resources that a larger city church might have. And so when you're a satellite church, you're able to give some of those resources that way, and people are able to experience a church at, what we're trying to be is as excellent as possible with our worship and with our kids programs and all of that, and able to resource that rural area that may be smaller, but we're able to take some of our resources we have from our broadcast campus and really put into that.
Yeah.
So I think it actually thrives in that area. So now we're able to divert that, and the campus pastor out there now can spend a little bit more time not just preparing a message every week, but pastoring people, connecting with people, raising up leaders, discipling people, and really being there. And actually pastoring people that sometimes, I don't always have the time because I spend 20 to 30 hours. Depending on the message, I'll spend 20 hours a week easily on a message.
Sure.
And so that's a lot of time I'm diverting to writing a message that now a campus pastor can take that 20 hours and put it into people and communication and networking, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
And that's why we actually at our broadcast site have a campus pastor.
Yeah.
Because now we want to make sure we're pastoring people. I'm not just a glorified preacher.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we want to make sure we're also pastoring people. And so I'm going to take a little bit of that weight off of some of our campus pastors so they can be able to do those kind of things. So those are kind of things about the video teaching that I'm not too intimidated by.
Yeah, that's so good. So talk real quick to, what you guys do in regards to live speaking and what's live versus what is video.
Yeah, we always want to have live speaking there.
Yeah.
And so it's not that it's completely 100% video. So what we do is make it look exactly like the broadcast site, and so the flow is the exact same, minus the fact that my message on video,
same order of service.
Yes,
yeah.
So what we do is same songs.
Yep.
It goes into one worship. It goes into a 5-minute countdown. Same songs. The worship pastor will welcome everybody like normal.
Yeah.
Then we have the campus pastor come up or one of the lead Dream Team members up there, and they'll come in and do a spiritual moment just like we do at the broadcast site, right? Go right into a welcome and 2-minute countdown. Then we have someone come up and they actually welcome the message.
Yeah.
What do I mean is they kind of talk a little bit about it. They set it up. They kind of explain it. And then the message goes in, and then just like normal. Yeah. And then what happens is we do an altar call at the end, straight through the video, and then the campus pastor comes up and kind of closes that altar call out. Right into live again, offering, right into a stories video, which is a testimonial video of somebody in our church of how God's moving in their life, into, again, to close. So all live minus the message. Yeah. And it gets to the point where you don't even realize sometimes that the message isn't live because you're so used to the flow of it that we've seen. And that's why every week we see people get saved, or most weeks we see people giving their hearts to Jesus, because it is just the gospel being preached. It doesn't matter the method of it, right? It's the gospel being preached. And I look at it kind of like this. There didn't used to be a printing press. But then the printing press was created, and Bibles were able to be spread. Yeah. Technology was used to spread the gospel that wasn't previously available. Yeah. Radio came along. And guess what? The gospel was able to be preached on a radio. People were giving their hearts to Jesus. Yeah. Didn't exist prior to radio. Then there became televangelists, and you saw Billy Graham with crusades on TV, and how many countless testimonies, people watching it, right? When technology advances, the gospel can now be preached in a new way, and it's still getting, because the word of God is living and active. It goes out and it produces, right? And it doesn't matter the technology being used. And so it's very effective, done right, and done in a healthy way.
That's so good. Man, that's so good. Let's talk about maybe a little bit more on the finance side now. So how, this is kind of a two-sided question. I want to know, like, the budget that you guys had for planning a church, but I also want to dig into, how did you even know where to start on what to purchase for the campus?
Yeah, well, you're the one that kind of,
I know, I'm kind of talking like,
yeah, you're talking like this, but we'll talk it from my side, and then I'll let you, so... I don't handle our finances on the day. I approve everything. Yes. We talk about it, but I don't handle all the details. So, you're so humble. But, we are different than most people, though. And here's what I believe. You can do a lot on little.
Yes.
And so I believe scarcity gives you the greatest creativity. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you have more than enough, you get a little complacent. Yeah. So we like that hunger. Yeah. I like for our church, our satellite campuses, to feel that hunger like a church plant. Yeah. I like for them to want to claw in and really fight for something and really believe in it and really be willing to sacrifice. Because I believe that builds faith, builds resilience, and builds a lot into it. Now, we also want to resource them with what we can so they don't fail. That's right. So we launched the entire church, advertising and all, with $50,000. Wow. I think we're a couple $100 over. Yeah. Which is extremely cheap if you look at some of the church planning numbers out there.
It's incredible.
But if you walk through our facilities, you would not believe.
No.
Because we look just like most church planting out there because we are able to do a lot with a little.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about when I say 50,000, we didn't go into an auditorium with chairs and a stage. I'm talking we bought chairs and plush ones.
Yep.
We put it in a portable stage week in and week out.
Yep.
All the tech, high-end.
Yeah.
High-end projectors because we knew that it has to be nice and quality.
That's right.
I'm talking about sound. Sounds great. Lighting setup. All the kids. Pipe and drape around all the kids. Pipe and drape around the entire gym.
Yeah.
So you don't even see the gym. It looks awesome when you walk in there. And we bought the 16-footers, right? The big ones.
Yeah.
So that it's covering everything. And we did it all for $50,000. So that was important to make sure we do it in a budget, but also not go crazy. Because it's easy sometimes to think, hey, money can buy me growth.
Yeah.
Money doesn't buy you growth, right? God buys you growth, or God gives you growth through the spiritual nature of it. Your resilience, your discipline does. Being creative does.
Yeah.
And money is just a resource and a complement to all those things, right? Money's kind of like a spice. You need it to make things taste better, but it can't be the only thing you're eating.
Yeah.
If that's all you got on your plate, it's not going to taste very well. It's not going to work out too well. It's not going to sustain you. But man, it's good to have, but you don't need all of it to be successful. That's a bad misconception and a great excuse to keep you from progressing.
That's so good.
Now, how we kind of figured out what we need is we just learn from other people.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of resources out there that kind of tell you how they break down their multi-sites and how they break down their campuses. We looked at Highlands and saw kind of what they did. Now, Highlands has a budget like 20 times what our budget was. But they give you ideas on the items you need.
Yes,
okay?
100%.
And so we might not be able to afford some of the equipment they use, but we know what equipment we need.
Yep.
And we can look at what we could. Also, you know, you did a great job at finding deals, right? We found chairs at a great steal. We found a stage at a great steal.
Yeah.
We found equipment at a great steal. Like, you can find things if you look at it and find the great ways to do it. Now, some people go through those church portable companies, and they're great and they're wonderful.
Fantastic.
And I'm not saying not to. We just wanted to kind of have a little bit more grit to it. That's kind of the way we roll.
Yeah.
That's the way we've always rolled. So
if you have the ability to go through those, I mean, there's some really great resources from like Portable Church and things like that they can get you, but on an extremely tight budget. But we still knew that we can provide excellence through our facilities, because the reality is, if we're in a gym, like, we have to make it look excellent with other means to provide that experience for the people. So, like, getting the 16-foot pipe and drape to where you walk in and you don't even realize you're in a gym was so important.
Yep.
And that high-end projector. But there are so many resources out there. And I would tell them, don't be afraid to go used or refurbished or anything like that, because there are still so many great deals out there if you're willing to just look.
And a lot of those used and refurbished tech have warranty still on them.
Yes.
And so it's not like you're gambling, you're buying from Joe Schmo that you don't know if he dropped it on the way to the car or not. You know, they're great companies that you're looking at. And secondly, make sure you invest enough money in signage.
Yes.
Signage changes the game. And you can go to these online sign shops, right? Like large sign shops like halfpricebanners.com
Is it got
print and all these areas, and find high quality signs. We got floor to ceiling banners, or big huge banners, and throughout the lobby and every kid's room, and it really sets it up with it. Flag banners coming in and all. Signage is such an important key to really transforming a space that's not yours throughout the week to on the weekends, making it feel like this is your space.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, a lot of times if you're going into an already set up brick and mortar and you spend all that money in remodel, you're going to start cutting cost. And you're going to cut costs on things that really matter, like signage and cosmetics and looks, because people don't care if you got a classroom space. They care if the classroom space looks clean and organized.
Yep.
They don't care if you got an auditorium. They care if it is environmentally appealing to them.
So true.
And so sometimes you're built out the rooms, but they don't look good.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the money to do what you need to. So that's why it's important to look at those kind of things.
Yeah. And for any listener or anyone watching out there, if you want, we actually built a template on our $50,000 budget for starting a campus. Email me at tyler@bloomhere.org, and I'll send you that. And it's a great,
100%.
just a starting platform for it.
And it's nice to be able to say you launched a campus with no debt.
No debt.
We just paid for it and went.
Yeah, amazing. Real quick to wrap it up, just talk to the pastor who feels multi-site on their heart but is scared to take that leap. Maybe give them some
Yeah, I will say that, research and study helps a lot. Secondly, make sure you have the right leadership in place.
Yeah.
That culture transfers, because that's the most important thing ever, is that you want to make sure the culture that you have at your broadcast site is the culture you have at your satellite location, your portable location. You want to make sure that happens. And so you can't over-pour into your people.
Yeah.
And if anything, that's probably what I've always been the weakest at, is the fact that I am an empowerer, which means I am so good at empowering you, but then I'm really bad at keep following up. So I overtrust.
Yeah.
And so if I would say anything, the things I've learned is make sure you are consistently pouring into relating and connecting with those leaders over there, because you need to make sure they have that culture transfer, especially if they're not going to be around you all the time because they're at another location. They need to have that constant connection with you, because that was probably my biggest areas. I love to let go. I'm not a micromanager, but sometimes I can let go too much, and I got to make sure I still have that connection with them. So make sure you're doing that. Put the budget in line, get a plan in place, and then let God do what God does best.
So good.
All right, guys, another weekend of books. I hope you were blessed. If you really enjoyed today, will you please do me a favor? Make sure you subscribe. If you haven't rated it and reviewed it yet, please do that, because that really helps us get a reach out. Share this to anyone you think this will be beneficial. You have any questions at all, again, you can email Tyler@bloomhere.org. That's Tyler@bloomhere.org. And until next week, pray God's peace.